And with more on the crew, we're joined by our buddy J.D. Smith from 97.1 The Fan, otherwise known as T-Bone. The crew and New England tomorrow, Mafre, Eastern Conference Final. We know the crew have 8 players that are battling COVID. They're not saying who. Eloy Room did not play last week. What do we think? Will he play tomorrow?
If I had to bet on it, I would bet no. Caleb Porter talked to the media today and basically said, without saying it officially, that any player who was out last week is going to be really tough to get back this game because of the fact that part of the protocols for MLS is with the myocarditis concerns with COVID-19, they're not allowed to elevate the player's heart rate while they are in their quarantine. So even though players are back and available, if one of those players, let's say if it was Eloy Room who had COVID and if that's one of the players back, he would not have been able to train all week. So perhaps next week those players would be more of a factor, but to me it doesn't sound like, without them confirming anything, they made it pretty clear that players who were out last week, it's going to be real tough for them to play this week.
Columbus Crew is the 3 seed. The East bracket kind of crumbled in a way. You have New England as the 8 seed. Earlier this week, Caleb Porter said, I don't want to hear any nonsense about these guys being the underdog. Do you buy into that? Do you think that the Crew should be favored in this game?
Oh, I mean, the Crew deserve to be favored based on their record and what they've done this year, but Caleb Porter is correct in saying that New England is a dangerous team and a team that is lower seeded than they would have been had they had all their players. Carlos Heel was out for most of the year. He was last year's Lucas Zelarayan for them. He was the MLS Newcomer of the Year, 10 goals, 14 assists. I mean, the entire New England team this year only had 26 goals. He accounted for 24 himself last year. He missed almost all the season this year with an Achilles injury. He had to have surgery on it. They thought it was season ending. Ended up, he came back 2 months sooner than they thought. He was able to play the last month or so of the season, and they've been a different team since he returned. So, yeah, they have some guys who can put the ball in the back of the net. They have got Gustavo Bo, who's another dangerous goal scorer for them. So they are one of the hottest goal-scoring teams in MLS. Last week with Nashville, one of the most stingy defenses in Nashville. The Crew handled that. Now they're going to have to handle one of the best offenses in MLS. So we'll see how they do.
You know, JD, we're talking about 2 of the top coaches in this league, in Bruce Arena and Caleb Porter. Both have won MLS Cups. With that said, they seem to have a bit of a history. Is that something we're making more out of, or you tell us how you see it?
Well, if you go on Twitter, there's some pretty good GIFs or GIFs, however we're supposed to say that, of Caleb Porter fist pumping and Bruce Arena rolling his eyes during a game between the Portland Timbers and LA Galaxy when those guys were coaching those teams. So yeah, they have a history in the Western Conference coaching against each other. Immense respect. I mean, you could hear it. Caleb Porter talking about it today. Any soccer coach in North America is going to have respect for Bruce Arena. Bruce Arena is not the most likable person in the world, but he gets results out of his teams. He's done it at the national team level. He has done it at the MLS level. Certainly knows how to win in these playoffs. So yeah, if you want to be the best coach in MLS, you've got to beat coaches like Bruce Arena. Caleb Porter certainly has his sights set on that type of accolade, no doubt, as any coach would. So yeah, you're going to have to go up against some of the best coaches out there. But to put it in perspective for non-soccer fans, today Caleb Porter called him the Bill Belichick of MLS, and that's pretty accurate, I would say.
Another guy who knows Bruce Arena is Jossie Zardes, and T-Bone, Jossie's been playing so well all season, still keeping it going in the playoffs. How important is the run that he's on right now for the Crew making it to that Cup final?
There's no doubt. I mean, if you don't have Jossie Zardes elevating his game, not just this year, but the last 2 years, this is a different team. I mean, as much as they've assembled talent around him, the midfield has obviously improved dramatically. You've got to have someone who can find those balls and who can make those passes and of course, score the goals. Jossie Zardes did both last week. He had an assist on the Pedro Santos goal that put them up 1-0. And then, of course, he drove the nail home with the second goal himself. So, yeah, he's got to be on his game. This entire team is going to have to play probably their best game of the season. New England's going to come in. I expect there to be a lot of goals in this one. So, guys like Jossie cannot miss when they've got their opportunities. I don't predict it being a 0-0 game. I think it's going to be certainly, 3 or 4 goals going one way or the other. So I think you're going to have to be the one getting those goals, and Jossie's going to have to be a big part of that.
All right, JD, handicap it for us. The winner moves on to the MLS championship. I called it from the get-go. The Crew were going to win it all. What do you think? How do you see tomorrow's match?
You know, it's hard not to believe in this team. They were set up early in the season, I thought, to be one of the best teams in MLS. But New England is playing really well right now. I am going to, go with a little bit of my heart, but also with my brain and say that the Crew are the better overall team. One of the matchups they can exploit is Tejan Buchanan, who's a right back for New England. He's been playing really well, but Pedro Santos is good defensively. If they can limit that guy, that should bode well for the Crew, and they should be able to move the ball through the midfield. If the outside backs for the Crew can start getting into the offense, I think that's the key for the Crew to win this game, and I think they will. I think they win it 3-2.
And the best thing about a deep playoff run for the Crew, more T-Bone on wall to wall. So maybe we can milk this one more week. Hey, T-Bone, thanks for joining us today, man.
Thanks, guys.